and welcome to GodCenter. I hope you have all been doing extremely well. It's been hot here in H-Town, but nevertheless, on today's topic, we will be speaking on the topic of bullying, and it's not just for kids. I chose this topic on bullying, I guess you could say in memory of my cousin, Greg Hardin, who recently passed away, so God rest his soul. I will see him in heaven because hallelujah, he's saved. He wrote two books. He wrote two books on bullying, and I will include the link below if you want to maybe purchase it for a family member, a friend, or perhaps if you're a teacher, you want to have this in the school. So nevertheless, in these books, Greg basically talks about his experience growing up and being somewhat short and chunky and, wanting to play basketball and telling people he wanted to play basketball, but being constantly told that he's too short, he's too short. But then Greg had a huge growth spurt, huge, to where he literally was about 6'5", and he played basketball. He went on to play basketball, and he also had a full ride scholarship to Long Island University, where I also studied in college as well. So I wanted to do this video in remembrance of him. So before we dive off into this topic of discussion about bullying, it's always critical, in my opinion, to have a definition of bullying. So I'm going to read a definition that I found, and it basically, I like how it breaks down the Hebrew and the Greek. So the word bullying translates as brutish, and it basically, that's a synonym for it, meaning a similar word for bullying. And the Hebrew and the Greek translation is a brute or brutish, which means stupid, foolish, and irrational as cattle. Wow. Okay, we're going to see how that makes sense in a minute. So when we think about bullying, I could just take you to a personal story time for myself. I remember being in junior high school, and I was tall. I'm still tall now, and I was much thinner, probably half the weight that I am now, if not less than that, and just very lanky, very tall, very lanky. I personally didn't think that I looked like much or had very much. I was raised in the projects with my 5 brothers and my sister. My dad's a teacher, my mom hairdresser in the house. So we did not have lots of money. We were in an apartment, and I never had my own room, just to give you a little history on that. But I remember there was this one girl, and she was about maybe a little bit more than half my size. And she lived in this nice house that we'd have to pass whenever a few of my friends, and she was one in this group, which is interesting because usually when we think of a bully, you don't think that they're going to be in your group, but somehow this girl was in the group of people that I associated with, and we would walk home together after school. And I remember that she would, head off before us because most of us lived in the project. She's the only one that lived in this nice big house, and I would be like, wow, like thinking what a wonderful life this girl has. But needless to say, this girl did not like me. She just picked on me. She just would pull my hair. She would do all kinds of, push me. And it was ridiculous. And I remember having anxiety over this girl because I would fight with my brothers playfully, but I never was into fighting. I just wasn't who I was. And so this girl, I really didn't know how to handle her. So needless to say, I would think, why does this girl treat me in this way? Now that I can look back over my life, I can see that this girl was short, I was tall. She had the full blessing of being a woman. Like, she was racked. She was stacked and racked. At a relatively young age, I didn't have anything going on. I had nothing going on, okay? I'm just tall and lanky. And I was in classes where my dad pushed me to do advanced math and all those sorts of things. She did not have that. She kind of struggled. And, when you really look at movies, the person who's being bullied is usually someone who, is a nerd. So that, I guess I was kind of nerdy, but not really. But nevertheless, she chose to pick on me, and I didn't understand it. I just didn't get why is she singled me out. And I also remember that my parents were extremely strict, and her parents were never around, and she did whatever she wanted to do because no one was really ever home. So this girl, again, had free reign to do whatever she wanted. She could hang out, do whatever she wanted, have people come into her home. No parents at all were there. And her brother couldn't care. He was younger and he did whatever he wanted as well. Now, my family, well, that would not happen. We had lookouts. We had people like, CIA type people just constantly watching us, And so we, needless to say, did not get to do any such thing of the kind. And I always envied that. I'm like, wow, like this girl has such the cool life and I don't, and she's picking on me. Why? Well, I now know it's because she didn't like me because of what I had. Now, what do I mean by that? Just to put into perspective, many of us, again, we see those movies. I'm sure you've seen one, if not several movies, where the person who's picked on is the nerdy person, the person who doesn't have what's desirable. So maybe it's the jock who's picking on the nerdy person, or maybe it's the not so pretty girl who's just lanky and not popular, but maybe she's not popular for a reason. Maybe because she has chosen to keep herself in a particular type of way, such as myself. I was forced to keep myself in a particular type of way because otherwise I would know I have the wrath of my father to deal with. This young lady, I've never seen her father. I never saw any of her parents actually come for parent-teacher night. So she got to do whatever she wanted. So I want to challenge that mindset, that the reason why you're being picked on, whether it's even a job right now in your adult life, that someone is troubling you, could it be that you have something that they want? And even as I think about it, one of my brothers, he was bullied, and his bully was, now my brother is tall and skinny, lanky like me, and the person who was bullying him was a pretty chubby, kind of a chunky guy, so in retrospect, we can now see that, again, the person who's doing the bullying is bullying you because it's something that you have that they see that they want. And the interesting thing is you may not even know what that thing is. Now, I didn't know what it was that I had, but I now know that it was my height. I now see how desirable height is. Even when we look back to we look at David, and we look at right before Samuel went to Jesse's house to choose a king. The first sons that came out, the tall ones, he was like, surely it has to be him because he's tall and he's handsome. So there's something to be said about height. When someone has height and when they walk in a room with height, they command a certain presence. And that's why you have women with heels, 5 and 6 inch heels. I don't need those heels because I have natural height. And this height that I thought was a curse, I used to pray that I could be shorter. I used to round my shoulders over and try to hunch myself over so that I could be on level with my shorter friends. But I now fully and thoroughly embrace my height because I realize that is who God made me to be, and I'm going to walk in it, and I'm going to be proud of it. And I want to encourage you to walk in that thing that makes you uniquely you. Okay, and even again, it could be not just a physical attribute such as height or looks or weight. It could also be something such as family, a structured family social network that person, clearly my bully, she did not have that. And while I'm thinking, this really sucks that I can't do anything. Someone's always watching me. That is now I realize that's something desirable for people to know, that there are several people, many people that care about you, and they're constantly watching you, and they care about your well-being. Whereas this young lady had nobody who seemed to care about what she was doing, and again, so she wanted that attention. She wanted someone to give her attention, and so she was classified as a loose girl. She did things, as y'all know what I'm talking about. She was very loose because she was desperate for that attention that she just was not getting from home. And so I want to encourage you not to hate on your bully, but to have compassion on them and try to understand what they might be going through, why they might even be feeling the way, why might they be treating you in this way? There is something that you have that is threatening to them that they want. Okay, so it just helps for you to get through it, because I know, like I said, when I was walking through it, no one could tell me anything. No one could really talk me out of my anxiety that this girl, I don't know what she's going to do to me tomorrow. I don't know if she's going to pull my hair again. I'm so tired of this, and feeling kind of defenseless, because I felt like she was kind of a friend, but she was more of a frenemy, you know? And I'm like, how do I deal with that? If it's an enemy, you know what to do. But when it's a frenemy, you're kind of in a harder, it's a more difficult situation. So I just want to encourage someone out there on today. And it also reminds me of Jason Momoa. I know y'all know Jason Momoa. Okay, I know you do. Okay, now okay, I'm gonna insert a clip here. This is quick, as if you didn't know, but here it is anyway. But did you know that Jason Momoa, they taunted him, they harassed him, they teased and bullied this man when he was a young boy because he was pretty. He was pretty. So they said, oh, here comes the pretty boy. And he was tired of constantly being called pretty. And he said he had a hard time. This was his bullying. So do you understand that? Based on the comments towards Jason Momoa being called pretty like practically every day of his life, multiple times throughout the day, this man might have started to question his gender and perhaps even think, maybe I'm supposed to be a female, not a male, because men are not supposed to be pretty. Women are supposed to be pretty. Men are supposed to be handsome. So I just want to point out how, you know, that, and then he said that he got a scar in some bar fight and his face got cut. And so that made him look more rugged. Now, I don't know Jason. I don't. Okay. Now, I wonder, like, Jason, how did you get this scar really? Was it really in the bar fight, or did you do something to yourself? I'm going to tell you something. When you are being harassed and when you're being bullied, desperate times call for desperate measures. I sometimes wonder, did this man self-mutilate himself so that he could take away some of the pretty, so that he could appear more rugged? Because if you have a scar, that shows like, I get down like that. I'm a roughneck. Could it be? So I just want to encourage anybody out there. I don't know Jason, I don't know if that's what happened, but I just kind of sort of feel, I don't see Jason getting in no bar fight and someone just going specifically for his face. I just don't see it. But I'm just saying, could it be some of us are willing and almost ready to do things that are outside of our character, outside of what we even really want to do, just so that we can get rid of that thing that people are taunting us over, when that is what God has given you. God has given Jason Momoa some good looks. We know this. Okay, that's why we got Aquaman. You're seeing it. You're seeing it probably multiple times. I'm just saying, what would happen if this man just went into become a recluse and said, oh, I'm just supposed to hide, or he would maybe transform and maybe be, do something else with himself. I'm just saying. All right. So you guys, I just want y'all to be encouraged out there. Take a good look at yourself. Take a good look at who you are and what are these people, anyone person or persons who are bullying you, what exactly are they bullying you about? And do a self-assessment and say, is this something that is desirable? Okay, perhaps you have something that is desirable. And if you have something that's desirable, ask God, because I know it's not easy when you're being bullied, okay? Ask God to help you through this time. Ask him for wisdom in how that you can move forward in this season that you find yourself in, however God speaks to you, and do that thing. But what I would ask for you to not do is not allow it to affect your self-perception, because it is from these very early stages in our life that it starts to frame the literal framework for who we will become as adults. So if you start to feel that this is an area of weakness for you, so you start to try to become something that you're not, and discard the gift, the natural God-given gift that you have that makes you uniquely you, you're not even living your life. You're living someone else's life based on the pressures of someone else. And who are these people? Who are these people? So again, I just want to encourage you guys to ask God, what are those gifts? What are those special gifts that He's given you? And to help you to learn to be proud and to walk in true grace with these gifts that have been given to you, because it is a gift. Every talent that you have, every one of us are different. Every one of us brings something different to the table, including you. So I just want to leave you with that. And in our next video, we will be talking about bullying in the workplace. Yes, we're going to talk about that because it is happening and I believe people need to know about it. So don't miss that episode. So that is it for this episode of GodCenter. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell so that you will be alerted every time GodCenter releases a new video. I will see you next time on GodCenter, but until then, be sure that you keep God at the center of all you do. Bye-bye.